So that was an interesting morning for me. I love listening to the therapists that shared, and it gave us that view of Sid's great dream about it, moving out through psychology. That really touched me. But what we'd like to do, Jan and I'd like to do now, is check in with all of you and see how you're doing. And anybody can share an insight that they've had, or an area they'd like to hear more about, or a question. And it will give us a little bit of oxygen just to hear from you. And remember, don't all speak at once. So anybody that's got anything to say, please put your hand up, your virtual hand up. Oh, there's somebody, Lori. Hi, Lori. I just recognized you. Lovely to see you, Lori.
It's great seeing you. It's great seeing everyone. Wow. I've heard the story, Jan and Chip. I wrote your story, but somehow, I don't know, you're telling it differently. I know, it's me too. It's all of us. What strikes me is, first of all, I have to go back to when I first heard about this, was in Coral Gables. And people are talking about this epiphany, this experience, this white light, buzzing white light experience. And honestly, I thought everybody was on psychedelic drugs. That was the era, right? 1985. And through grace, I'll tell you, I was brought back to listen. And grace was actually Hazel Foss.
Oh, Hazel.
Bless her. The generosity of people who are drawn to this community. I feel really so privileged to have any part of this. So yeah, bless her soul. She, after my divorce, she didn't say you could use some help. It just led me to come back, stay with her, come back, listen to what's happening. And I did, mainly for Hazel's company. And so little by little, and, I'm pretty slow to catch on. It's like, my mind, my brain has a hard time keeping up with my mind, because it's so, it had been so busy thinking so much. So I'm just so grateful that this happened at the beginning of my career as a therapist. I was an art teacher turned art therapist, and some of the things I was hearing in my training, even to be an art therapist, was following an old medical model, which to me, I didn't know old and new. I only learned that through Dr. Bill Pettit, but they were looking at drawings as a diagnosis, not to draw for the fun of drawing and to get into a quiet space. They were diagnosing people, like DSM diagnosis, through looking at their expression on paper without actually hearing what the artist had to say about it. I mean, it just seemed really crazy to me. So I was on a fast track to go back to just teaching art. And that's when I, through grace, met Sid. And it was so great to hear your story, Jen. I hadn't heard that before, about how these tears came. That's what happened to me, like full force. I had no idea what it was. I thought, I don't know what I thought, but it had a very different quality of the tears I shed when I was diagnosed as depressed with long-term dysthymia. It means long-term depression. I was diagnosed 1 year before I met Sid. Well, no, it had to be 4 years, because I was in Jungian analysis, which with a really kind, nice, caring PhD psychologist who The only thing I remember is going in depressed, 4 years later, coming out depressed, 1 hour a week. But I could read off why I was depressed, because my mother said that, my father said the other thing. There were no big, horrible things that happened in my past. But, you know, what I realize now more than ever is there's been like this validation in the field of psychology where people are struggling and they go to a mother figure or a father figure, is how it felt to me. And I got validated for why I felt so bad. Never, ever realizing it had anything to do with my own thinking. Not one bit about that. So, yeah, I mean, it is huge. This is incredibly huge. What Sid found, and I just feel so grateful and blessed to have, you know, whatever understanding I have about it. And, you know, it's not just Sid, although it's very much Sid. I have all my clients. I started an online book club of Sid so that I could get my clients reading and listening to Sid. Thanks to my hearing Dr. Pettit talk about, he won't even see a client unless they've read all of Sid's books. So twice, not once, twice, because it's true. On the second round, the third, the fourth, the fifth, I'm still hearing more. I'm still, you know, because it's coming from inside of all of us. But I just want to thank you for, you know, you and Jane and everybody who's been keeping this alive. To have, you know, it did take courage, took a lot of courage. I'm really seeing that now more than ever. Because, you know, more recently, I've just thrown courage to the wind. I'm just telling it like it is. You know, to quote Judy and Chris, psychology has it backwards. Innocently, I mean, people are doing the best they can given how they see things, of course. And, you know, so I also want to thank everybody that has been in this community that has led me to open my eyes more, to really have a look and have patience and stick around.
Wow.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you, Lori.
I loved, we know someone for all these years from Coral Gables, right, way back then. And
Yeah.
yet you hear little things about them that you didn't know, and
Yeah,
it's
it's
so
lovely.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So, anybody else?
Hi,
Hi, Ellen.
nice to be with both of you
Hi, Ellen.
and everyone else. Hi. I want to kind of go off on, not go off on, but echo and elaborate on what was just said by Lori around a different pace of getting the understanding. And I recall like hearing both of your stories and lots of other people's stories in the beginning of how there was such a dramatic shift. And I just want to put in the room that, you know, we all have our own pace and our own awakening to the understanding, the deepening. And I just want to thank all my mentors for years who kept on pointing me to see and be grateful for what I already saw. Because once that happened, like then everything really opened up for me, rather than wishing and praying for, you know, an experience like someone else's. And my insight was like, I can't have anyone else's experience. I can only have mine. And that was really powerful.
I'm really glad you said that, Ellen. That's
Mhm.
really beautiful. I mean, we share our stories and maybe it's dramatic and stuff, but you know what I was hearing when you were saying is talking to a client, right? And they tell me, I really haven't had any big insights. Okay. And I said, okay, and so what's going on with your life? Well, you know, I haven't talked to my father for 12 years. And I went to see him the other day and I just had the best time and I just saw him totally different. And my thought in my head is, so you haven't had any insights. We all
Right.
do move at our own pace. And as long as we're moving down the track, it doesn't matter.
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
really beautiful, Ellen.
I call those formless insights, where change happens without the intellectual awareness of the insight.
And I think those are the most common ones, actually, Ellen.
Yeah, where all of a sudden we do something differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's so many of those so, and thank you for this weekend and everything, and being you and being here.
Thank you, Ellen.
Really, thank you. Yeah.